Today on the Divergence SMP realm, I'm going to make a creeper farm. Now, I don't often make creeper farms because, in my opinion, creeper farms in Bedrock Edition kind of suck. But I have a design for a creeper farm that is reasonably easy to put together. You can do it in 2 or 3 hours, and it gives you reasonable rates of about 500 gunpowder an hour, which should be good enough to satisfy everybody's needs on the realm. One thing I had to consider for building this farm is location. Now, the best place to make a creeper farm would be in a biome in which strays spawn, the snowy plains or ice spikes, or in Bedrock Edition also in frozen oceans. In those biomes, strays spawn. And the thing about strays is they don't spawn underground. So that means in caves, you have one less mob type that's attempting to spawn that isn't a creeper, so you're going to get more creepers attempting to spawn in your farm. So you get slightly better rates for your creeper farm if it's in one of those biomes in which strays spawn instead of skeletons. However, I'm not building it in one of those biomes because I want it to be a convenient location for everybody on the realm, so I'm putting it close to world spawn. Even so, as I said, I expect to get about 500 gunpowder per hour out of this farm. I'm starting by putting the AFK platform at Y110. Now, I'm working on a sim distance of 4. There won't be any mobs spawning more than 48 blocks away. If I was in a higher sim distance, I'd want to make this AFK spot at Y191 or above, so that it's at least 128 blocks above sea level. Since I'm getting less than 9 stacks of gunpowder an hour and nothing else, I think 2 double chests is reasonable enough for a storage system for this farm. I'm going to use a 2x2 trident killer at the bottom of the farm and have 4 hoppers underneath it, and the base of the trident killer will be mud blocks. Mud blocks are slightly shorter than a full block, and the hoppers can pick up items through those mud blocks, so it'll pick up all the gunpowder. I don't want to go into too much detail here about how trident killers work, but leave me a comment and let me know if you want me to actually go through a detailed tutorial about how to do with trident killers. When the trident killer is off, there's going to be one piston that's extended, and I had to change it after I built it so that the piston that's extended doesn't get in the way of the opening where the trapdoor is, so you can throw the trident in there. There's going to be one place where you stand, where you throw the trident, and where you can be AFK, and then you can move under the upper half slab here to collect the trident when you're done using the farm. So each of the platforms that the creepers will spawn on in this farm is going to be 19 by 19. It just, the math works right to have it that size. The problem is I need a platform with water streams underneath to push the creepers into the central 2x2 chute leading to the trident killer. So that platform with the water streams will be at Y126. If that platform is 19 by 19, or 21 by 21 if you count the walls, in order to fit all the spawning platforms above it, that's great if I want to push the creepers into a 3x3 pit in the center. I'm trying to push them into a 2x2 pit. So I have to make some adjustments to the middle of this platform with water streams to get the creepers to actually go into the 2x2 drop chute. The way you make a creeper farm is you make spawning platforms that are 2 blocks high, and then you cover the ceiling in trapdoors, because creepers are shorter than other mobs. Zombies, skeletons, and even witches are too tall to fit in a space that's 2 blocks high with trapdoors on the ceiling. So that means the only mobs that could spawn in that space would be creepers and spiders. Spiders are another issue. You have to make sure there isn't enough space for the spiders to spawn either, so you have to use some kind of carpets or buttons to prevent the spiders from having enough room to spawn. That creates a real problem. Spawn proofing against spiders means you're taking away a lot of possible spawning area. And in Bedrock Edition, that's especially a problem because the rate at which mobs spawn to the point where they fill up the mob cap, the limit to how many mobs you can have, is pretty slow. It could take a full minute or more in order to fill up that mob cap. And the mob cap in Bedrock Edition is kind of small. It's 16 in caves and 8 above ground, I believe. Whereas in Java Edition, that mob cap fills up much, much faster, especially when you're low down in the world. And the mob cap is 70. So in order to make a mob farm of any kind work in Bedrock Edition, you need as much of the possible area where mobs can spawn available for them to spawn in to give you a decent rate. But by putting down a lot of buttons or carpet to prevent spider spawning, you're eliminating a lot of that possible space. That's why, generally speaking, I feel like you're better off making a general purpose mob farm, and you'll get about as much gunpowder as you would from a dedicated creeper farm. I know people swear that you can make a creeper farm and it can be more efficient than a general mob farm as long as it's big enough. But first of all, I'm working with SimDistance 4 here. Secondly, it just hasn't been my experience that works out that way. Be that as it may, as I said, I can put this farm together in 2 or 3 hours, and it's going to give me about 500 gunpowder an hour, even not making it in the ideal biome for a creeper farm. Now I'm building the first of these spawning platforms. This is at Y132. It's 19 by 19, fits exactly within the profile of that water stream table below it. Now you see that I'm alternating between chiseled blackstone and moss blocks. I don't need to do that, but it makes it a lot easier for me to figure out where the buttons and where the trapdoors go. Essentially, every block that's a moss block is a spawning platform for creepers. Every block that's blackstone, I'm going to put a button on it, and that will make it so that spiders can't spawn anywhere on any of these platforms. Everywhere where there's a hole, I'm going to put a trapdoor, and eventually when I'm all done, I'm going to open all the trapdoors, and the creepers should fall into those holes because they think they can walk right over the trapdoors. Now, I grant you, the creepers are going to walk around on these platforms for a while before they decide to wander into one of the holes. It's just the nature of it. It's going to operate a little more slowly because of that. Now, as I said, since every moss block is a spawnable space and every blackstone block is just going to have a button on it, I know that when I build the next platform above this, it's going to be exactly the same. And I know that I've just put trapdoors underneath where every moss block is. I know below that moss block is another moss block on the platform below where the creepers will be spawning. So that's where I want all the trapdoors. So if it's a moss block, put trapdoors underneath them. If it's a blackstone block, put buttons on it. Simple. And I just repeat that for 7 layers. You may also notice that I'm placing torches on a few of the trapdoors of each platform to light up the platform well enough that I'm not going to have creepers spawning as I work. That would be a problem. Then when I go back and open the trapdoors when everything's built, the torches will break away. On top of the topmost platform, I still need to have trapdoors so that only creepers can spawn on that top platform. But I also would like to use transparent blocks so that the top layer would count as surface spawns, taking advantage of the separate surface cap. So above every spawning platform on the top platform, I'm putting a leaf block and then lower blackstone slabs in every other block that isn't above a spawning platform. And then I put trapdoors underneath all the leaf blocks. For this farm to work in the daytime, I need to reduce the light level on all the spawning platforms to less than light level 7. So I built a roof of leaf blocks over the entire farm, 9 blocks up from the top of the farm, and then 9 blocks out in every direction from the edge of the farm. And that is more than enough to reduce the light level enough so that inside the farm mobs can spawn even when it's full daylight outside. Then all I have left to do is open all of those trapdoors for the holes on each platform, starting from the bottom. So I'm not going to end up with creepers on upper platforms spawning in and dropping down on my head and the lower platform as I'm working. So I start from the bottom platform and work my way up. Then quickly get rid of the scaffolding, and it's done. And just like that, the farm is done. You can see that I'm holding a Looting 3 sword. It's working pretty good. I have some signs here for other people's benefit. Stand on this block to throw Trident and AFK. Stand here to collect the Trident. Then I go over here, pick up the Trident, and throw that switch to turn off the Trident killer. Incidentally, I was using just any old Tridents. I took a break for a day after I built this thing, and I've just now come back to it while I was working on editing this video. Somebody took and put Unbreaking 3 and Mending 1 on these Tridents. Not really necessary, but it's kind of nice that they did that. Now, don't let this fool you. I really get about 500 gunpowder an hour from this, which is about 8 stacks of gunpowder. This is just, I was here AFK for a few hours while I was editing, so I got a whole lot of gunpowder. I'll take a shulker box with me and leave the rest. This is likely as much gunpowder as I'm ever going to need. I've got to be honest with you. Because honestly, when I use rockets, I tend to glide a lot, so I don't use as many rockets as a lot of people. But that's the farm done. Pretty easy to put together. I was able to make it one nice long evening. Spent another afternoon AFK while I edited to collect all the gunpowder I'm ever going to frickin' need in this realm. Now with that out of the way, maybe I can move on to working with some of the things in the most recent update. There's now new breeds of dogs and armadillos, and I definitely want to play with that next time when Amon chooses Divergence SMP.